Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Unitarian Church of Edmonton. My name is Gordon Ritchie. My pronouns are he, him. And Karen Mills and I have the great honor and privilege of being the co-conductors of our church choir, Chorealis. And they are doing their grand opening season this morning, our first Sunday singing, and in their autumnal splendor. And it's lovely to have you with us here in the sanctuary, and a good jolly hello to all those who are joining us online. It is good to be together. Unitarian Church of Edmonton is a faithless creed. As a community of it, no, let me, okay, so much for winging it. Let's, I love you too, thank you. So talking about being accepted, okay, I'm just gonna go right, I'm gonna jump ahead to who we are. We are an accepting community. That's who we are, right? We come here into this space with all our faults, all our foibles, all our beauty, all our gems and treasures and wisdom and wonderful attitudes of life. And we come of different ages. We come here different abilities. We come here believing different things. We come here knowing that we identify in a very specific way. We come here with very different understanding of what family is. And we are all welcome, and how wonderful that is. The alert church where people laugh. And we are a faith, our faith is a creedless community. Yes, I was trying to say earlier, we are dedicated to a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We embrace a pluralist philosophy, opening our hearts and minds to the diverse ideas, feelings, and expressions of our world community. It is good to be together. I have been told of one church-related announcement, and that is by Maria. I'll ask her forward now.
Good morning, my name is Maria Oderkirk, and along with my husband Clinton, I am part of the hospitality team here at the church, and we are holding our first potluck in 2 weeks on the 19th of October. Now, I was asked this morning why we're having a potluck, and I feel like that's a good question to answer for everybody. I think the official answer is 'cause. But also, I choose to believe, because coincidentally the 19th of October is also my first wedding anniversary, that it's my potluck. So I did finally get around to printing off sign-up sheets for setup and cleanup. They should be on the membership table with pens if that is something you are willing to help out with. And either way, please come prepared to share fellowship and food, bring a dish to share. If it's something that you have made yourself, please just put together a quick and dirty ingredients list just in case there are any allergens, and it'll be great. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Andrew Mills, and he, him, and some little hitchhikers have found their way into our kitchen, and so I need some help getting things prepared for to get the exterminators to come in. And so we're going to be here on Tuesday, most of the day, and if anybody can come and give us a hand, we'll need to be vacuuming, cleaning, and trying to get the kitchen to a point where we can get the exterminators in to get rid of our little hitchhiker friends. So I would appreciate, you don't need to give me a call, but if people want to talk to me after church and volunteer, that would be great. Otherwise, I will see some of you on Tuesday. Thank you. Don't need a sign-up sheet, I just need people to come.
And I should mention that our minister, Reverend Rosemary Morrison, is actually off today, and we will see her back with us again next Sunday. Some of you will remember that we had our guest speaker last Sunday. That was Cheryl Whiskey Jack. And I was speaking with Cheryl after the service, and she was telling me that she was busy that day picking up elders. There was an elders convention here in Edmonton, a national convention of elders here in the city this past week. And she was telling me all about how entertaining they are. And if you're not an elder, you are a little one. And she was so grateful for that, being the age that she was, that she was considered a little one. This past week, there was a woman that came into my store, and she was wearing this beautiful ribbon dress. And so after the transaction was done, I asked, "Are you here for the elders week, the elders event?" She said yes. And so we chatted a little bit about that, and lovely, lovely, gracious woman, and it made me think of how wonderful it is that we are in this place, here in this city, that we can have elders coming from across the nation to be together, to join together and discuss and really establish their work and make their work known to us. And real sense of gratitude for me that we can have this. I know years ago, decades ago, that would not be possible. So here we are on this land, Treaty 6 territory, and may we be here with such gratitude, and may we continue to honor those who are the keepers of the traditions, and those who have been on this land and have cared for this land for so long. May we honor them all. When Karen was putting together this service, she came across a song that I think is particularly appropriate for the choir's first Sunday, and I hope you enjoy. Our opening words this morning are by Kate Steinberg. We arrive in this place where we all all we have to do is breathe. Let's just do that. Let's have a communal breath in and exhale. And those of you who are online, let's all breathe in again and exhale. We don't have to impress or convince or win over. We don't have to be anything but who we are. May we be filled instead with presence. May we feel held in the comfort of our community. May we discover new compassions for ourselves and for others. May we meet this moment with gentleness and ease. We have a birthday girl with us today who unfortunately is not able to be right in the sanctuary, but she is with us today, and that is Audrey Brooks. I've asked Elena to come forward and light the chalice on her behalf this morning. These words are by Albert Schweitzer. This is one of my favorite chalice linings. At times our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. Thank you, Elena. We have a reading now.
Good morning. I'm Lynn Turvey, pronoun she, her.
My name is John Turvey, he, him.
And a reading is by Reverend Cameron Trimble, When the World Numbs, Stay Tender. There's a reason so many of us feel disoriented, not just because of what is happening around us, but because of what is happening to us. We are being conditioned to shut down, slowly, steadily, almost imperceptibly. The barrage of cruelty, confusion, spectacle, and spin has a cumulative effect. It wears on our capacity to feel, to care, to respond with presence rather than reflex. We are being trained through repetition to expect harm and then to normalize it. That is the danger of this moment. Not just political collapse or climate unraveling or the erosion of public trust, but the numbing of our souls.
In times like these, numbness masquerades as wisdom. It can seem like the smart choice to disengage, to go silent, to retreat behind a wall of indifference, self-righteousness, sarcasm, or cynicism. But those strategies of self-protection eventually become self-abandonment. As Thomas Merton once taught, the biggest human temptation is to settle for too little. And numbness, however understandable, is too little for our full aliveness.
Tenderness, then, is not weakness. It is resistance in its most radiant form. It's how we stay soft without surrendering. It's how we walk through the world with our eyes open and our hearts intact. As my friend and colleague, Reverend Tracy Blackman, reminds us, prophetic resistance is only possible for those who still dream. You must be able to dream to see justice in the midst of it all. Tenderness is the soil of that dreaming. It is the part of us that refuses to be numbed by cruelty or comfortable in despair. When we reach for one another with care, when we peacefully protest, offer a gentle word, hold silence with someone in pain, we resist the empire's logic of separation. We bear witness to a deeper truth that love in its fiercest form often shows up as gentleness.
When the world numbs, staying tender is a revolutionary act. It's not sentimentality, not bypass. It's sacred refusal. refusal to stop weeping as harm is done, refusal to look away as truth is buried, refusal to close off when the world needs more openness, not less. To stay tender is to remain attuned to the pain and the possibility. It is to become an instrument that can feel the tremors of grief and still catch the harmonics of joy. The way forward is not found in shock or speed, but in our willingness to sit in the quiet, to return to our breath, to feel what is true, and to let that truth shape us into more faithful, courageous people.
We are in this together.
It is time to share our abundance. Our community here at the Unitarian Church of Edmonton is entirely self-governing and self-supporting. One of the privileges of our free church tradition is to provide for all the financial support for our many ministries from among ourselves. Generosity, therefore, is one of the spiritual values we recognize as central to our personal and institutional well-being. In addition to supporting this church community, we also make a monthly commitment beyond our walls. 1/2 of the unidentified cash that's received during the month of October will be donated to our charity of the month. This month, it is Camp Firefly. And so while the offering is being received, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Camp Firefly. Camp Firefly is a fun, educational, social, and personal leadership retreat for two-spirited LGBTQ+ youth ages 13 through 17. Camp Firefly, South Alberta, began in 2013, thanks to a partnership between the University of Alberta's Institute for Sexual Minority Studies and Services. Participants at the camp explore their identity, build resistance, enhance self-esteem, and develop leadership skills that positively impact their own lives, homes, schools, and communities. This organization thinks it's critical to talk about issues like sexism, homophobia, gender roles, and sexual identity. They encourage youth to challenge stereotypes and be aware of language they use and embrace diversity. They help them to understand the true impact of bullying and prejudice and provide tools and practice on how to be an active bystander when someone is experiencing discrimination or exclusion. Now, many of our members and friends give monthly or annually through automatic withdrawals and from their accounts, and for this, we are quite thankful. For those of you who are online, I invite you to visit the Camp Firefly website to make a donation. And so we thank you for your generosity and your support. With our time, our talents, and our money, we support the work of this community and the Unitarian Universalist tradition. Please remain seated as we sing together From You I Receive.
From you I receive, to you I give.
And we now have another reading.
Hi, my name is Carol Hutchings, and I go by she, her. I'm reading Compassion by Rabbi Esther Adler. The Jewish faith just observed Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, from September 22nd to 24th, and Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, on October 1st and 2nd. Compassion is a strong focus in these holidays, particularly Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the Jewish year, a solemn occasion for fasting, prayer, self-reflection, and seeking forgiveness for sins committed against God and other people. In a sermon delivered at Mount Zion Synagogue in October 2020, Rabbi Esther Adler shared the following thoughts on compassion. Compassion in Hebrew is rahamim, and is the plural form of the word rakem, meaning womb. Well, and so Jewish sages say that compassion is like a mother's love for her child. But I think that's completely missing the point. First, Rekem is womb, not mother. The womb does not love. The womb sustains and protects the unborn baby simply because that's what it does. Also, the womb connects the baby to the mother in the most intimate way, perhaps the most intimate connection two separate beings can have. The relationship is not symbiotic. The womb gives, the baby receives. From this perspective, then, rahamim, or being womb-like, means being connected to another being in an intimate, sustaining way without expectation of anything in return. Rahamim is not a feeling like sympathy or empathy. It is a deep connection to another human being that moves us to act in ways that are sustaining to that person. Rahamim, compassion, is not a feeling, it is a choice. It is the choice to acknowledge our shared humanity.
Thank you for that reading, Carol. I would invite you now to all take your turn at singing. We're going to sing, if you're using the hymnal, it's in the hardcover one, it's number 6, but the words will appear on the screen behind. Please stand as you're willing and able and sing together just as long as I have breath. Yeah. Except choir don't stand. Susan. Each week we take time to mark special moments in our lives and in the lives of others in the communities that we are all parts of. And we do this by lighting candles. And today we will light silent candles. We do it to mark celebrations, to mark milestones, happy times, but also for concerns, sometimes for cares that we might have that we're just not ready to share with the world yet, but want to kind of put out to the universe. So if you have something you would like to celebrate, or a concern that you would like to mark, or just something that feels like it needs a little special acknowledgement this week, I invite you to come forward and light a candle. Thank you. I asked Sarah to light one last candle for those special moments and thoughts and cares that we might have in our hearts and minds, but just aren't quite ready to share, maybe even with ourselves fully right now or with the world. When I first started coming to the Unitarian Church of Edmonton, which over 30 years ago now, which seems really hard to believe, I heard a sermon that has stuck with me ever since. The minister at the time, John Marsh, said that people often mistake Unitarian Universalism as a religion for slackers and the indecisive, because you can just believe whatever you want. He clarified that it's actually the exact opposite. He explained that being a Unitarian Universalist is actually really hard work, because we don't have a pope or a bishop or a creed that tells us what to believe. We don't have a single holy book that sets out the way or gives us all the answers. Instead, we have a series of 8 principles that we agree to act on as a community. And each of the principles is short in terms of word count, but each one packs a punch way above its weight in terms of living it out in day-to-day life. The principles make the way clear, but the journey is still kind of challenging. What was reinforced to me as I was reflecting on this month's theme, which is cultivating compassion, is that compassion really is the root of each of our principles. How could we possibly affirm the inherent worth and dignity of each person if we didn't have compassion? Our second principle actually directly instructs us to promote justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Compassion is fundamental to the acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. And a free and responsible search for truth and meaning requires compassion both for ourselves and for those searching alongside us, as each of us searches for our own answers and our own understanding of the world. Without compassion, it would be difficult to have the patience and open-mindedness required to fully embrace the right of conscience and the use of democratic process in our congregations. To me, working towards the goal of world peace, liberty, and justice for all is really just another way of saying working toward a world ruled by compassion. And as with our first principle, how can we affirm and promote respect for the interdependent web of all existence if we didn't have compassion? And finally, our newest principle, which calls us to individual and communal action that accountably dismantles racism and systemic barriers to full inclusion in ourselves and our institutions, must have compassion at the core to accomplish such big work. That reflection was a good affirmation, a good reinforcement of our principles, and it makes me value them all the more. But really, it was more of a confirmation than a discovery. After all, every faith that I'm aware of has some version of compassion as its cornerstone, some version of the golden rule. So this was not really a big surprise. I realized, though, what has changed for me since I first heard that sermon 30 years ago is my own understanding of compassion. At the time of the sermon, I understood compassion to be the same as sympathy or empathy. I thought they were just all interchangeable words. But since then, I've learned 4 important things. The first, and this one's spelled right out in the dictionary definition if I had bothered to look, is that compassion also compels action. So whereas sympathy and empathy can be a feeling of pain for someone else or a trying of understanding where they're at or they're feeling, there doesn't necessarily get action invoked. But with compassion, compassion is that 2-part piece of the feeling, the seeing the hurt, seeing the pain, seeing the challenge, and then wanting to do something about it. So that helped at first, and then it got very worrying for me, because that hurting and that need seems overwhelming. And there's so much in the world. How could I possibly make a difference? My efforts never seemed like enough. And I'm not a big rallies and protester and out on the streets kind of person. And so what I was doing seemed minuscule and maybe even inconsequential. And that stayed true until I learned my second and third lessons. And they're so closely intertwined that I think they kind of go together. First, I learned that being compassionate does not mean accepting harm or letting go of boundaries. And at first, I sort of struggled to understand this until I was on an airplane one day and listening to the safety instructions that you kind of usually tune out, but for some reason it twigged that day when they were talking about put your own air mask on before you assist others. Exactly the same principle. You can't care for the world if you can't care for yourself. And so that was that first lesson. The second lesson was that the realization there are literally billions of other people on the planet with skills different than mine, talents different than mine, experience different than mine, who are also looking to help create a better world. So I'm not doing this on my own. No one is doing it on their own. Not only couldn't I do it on my own, but I shouldn't, because everybody needs a place to shine and have their gifts realized. I learned that softening and not hardening my heart was the best way to avoid compassion fatigue. As Reverend Trimble explained in the reading earlier this morning, tenderness is not a weakness. It is resistance in its most radiant form. It's how we walk through the world with our eyes open and our hearts intact. It's the part of us that refuses to be numbed by cruelty or conformed to despair. When we reach for one another with care, we bear witness to a deeper truth, that love in its fiercest form often shows up as gentleness. And this reminded me of a saying that a yoga teacher that I had would often use when we were learning a new pose and things perhaps were not going so well. And she would always say, try softer, not harder. And it was amazing the difference that that made. If you just loosened up a little bit and gave yourself a little bit of grace, suddenly everything fell into place. And the final lesson, and it's one that, it's hard. And I'm still learning every day. But it's changed my understanding of compassion, is acknowledging that sometimes it's just really hard. In the first draft of this I wrote, and shows that I'm still learning this lesson, I said, some people make feeling compassion for them really hard. But as I am continuing to learn, it's really not about them at all. It's about me. It's about my ego, my need to be right, my unwillingness to change or see things differently. And when I hit those encounters and am self-aware enough of them to realize, I remind myself that compassion is not a feeling, it is a choice. And it's the choice to acknowledge our shared humanity, no matter how I feel about that other person. It truly is our first principle in action. It's also at these times that I remind myself that the ultimate goal is creating a kinder, more peaceful and just world. It's not about me being right. It's not about solving everything. It's working toward that larger vision. And all of that far outweighs any petty concerns I might have. And finally, at these times, I recall our Chalice lighting words because they're some of my favorites too. They have been for a long time. At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. And each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. Amen and blessed be. I invite you now to settle into a comfortable position, maybe trying softer, not harder. And we're going to take a few moments for meditation. If it feels comfortable to you, you can close your eyes, take a couple deep breaths. I find it helpful to have my feet really grounded on the floor. If you prefer, you can lay on the floor, here or at home, either's fine. We'll have some words, a little moment of silence, and then a choral piece. Our words this morning are by the Reverend Dr. David Breeden, entitled Tending. Spirit of compassion, named or nameless, within and among us, teach us to tend to ourselves and to each other. May we tend to tenderness as patiently as seeds in spring. May our hearts be soft enough to feel another's ache, strong enough to hold that ache with grace. When we fail, may we begin again gently, with compassion for ourselves. May this be our hope and vow, to practice love until it takes root.
My name is Teresa, she, her. A Prayer for Cultivating Compassion When It Feels Difficult by Reverend Michelle Collins. Spirit of community, we name the truth. There are people who make love feel impossible, who push every button we didn't know we had, who seemed almost designed to test the very limits of our humanity. Our hearts contract around these relationships like fists, protecting old wounds that never quite healed. We itemize their faults, build cases for our justified anger, forget that they too were once children who needed tenderness. Grant us eyes to see past the armor to the wounds beneath. Help us recognize that cruelty is often just pain that has nowhere else to go, that the hardest people to love are frequently those who most desperately need it. This does not mean accepting harm or abandoning boundaries. We may find it fierce grace to hold both protection and compassion, remembering that even the most difficult souls are traveling their own mysterious journey toward healing. When love feels impossible, help us choose dignity anyway. When understanding fails, let kindness in. Let kindness remain.
Hello, my name is Alec. My pronouns are he, him. My reading is called Generous Assumptions by Rosemary Watola Tromer. I would like to open my heart to you and keep it open. But the truth is, sometimes all it takes is a glance, or the lack of a glance, or a certain tone, or a serrated word. And instantly the heart puts on its armor, which is something like a coat of porcupine quills. Only the quills go inward too. And the instant I wear it, I am aware of how much it hurts to wear it, and how in that moment, when I seek to protect myself, I wound myself. What if I believed you are doing the best you can, considering the forces that have shaped you? What if I listened past your words, looked through your actions to see how you too feel threatened? The Buddha said we are always moving forward or away from freedom. Could I, in that moment, before the prickly coat has started doing its prickly work, could I move toward the freedom by refusing to put it on? Could I choose instead the silken robe of generous assumptions, the one that allows for compassion, connection, or even kindness towards you, towards myself? Already, just thinking about it being possible, I notice a softening, a curiosity about how I might change not you, but myself. Already I feel how fluid this robe is, how gently it swirls around me, how strong its fibers are, how freeing it is, cool and breezy, this gift to myself. Thank you.
I invite you now to kind of sing the lessons in compassion we've been talking about by joining in hymn number 1031, Filled with Loving Kindness. You'll notice as we sing through, only one word changes in each verse, because that reflects the intention rippling out of being filled with loving kindness, and it starts with the individual. So may I be filled with loving kindness, then may you be filled, and may we be filled. So please stand and join in singing. we are entering the end of our service. We do have a closing song from Chorealis. We'll extinguish our chalice and carry the flame together. But before we do that, I wanted to thank all of the volunteers who made this service possible, especially the tech team this morning, because I sort of changed the order of the service. Unbeknownst to myself at first, but I figured it out, and they did too, very seamlessly. So thank you so much for that. And to the greeters and coffee makers and ushers and everyone who helped make this morning possible, thank you. So we will now have a closing song from Chorealis.
As I extinguish the chalice, our final reading is by Reverend Dr. David Breeden. It's called Practice the Growing. Go out into the world not to be perfect, but to practice. To be a practitioner of compassion. Wherever you go today, may you seed compassion. May your hearts remember how to tend, and your heart how to return when compassion is hard. For no garden grows in one day, but they grow. Go in peace and practice growing. May it be so. Blessed be. And it is our tradition, as you are willing and able, to rise in body and spirit. Join hands if you're comfortable with that, as we sing together our closing song, Carry the Flame of Peace and Love until we meet again.